we're recording.
Oh.
I was just...
They have a button for that?
Yeah. So the red one.
That's the red one.
And now, it's time for the Josh and John Show.
Yeah. Well, everybody, welcome to the Josh and John Show.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We're very excited to have all our listeners listening up.
In a live recording.
And this is a live recording coming from the Curbside Record Studio in beautiful Los Alamos, New Mexico, where everything is always on fire.
Well, I don't know if I should laugh at that or punch you in the face
or get punched in the face. But I mean, you can take it for what it is. You know, like,
it's hot.
Things are hot.
It's hot.
You know, it's warm in this room. It's hot outside. Actually, it was kind of a cool day. It was quite a nice day, and there wasn't anything going on. Then all of a sudden, I start driving to John's house, and the sun is literally blood red because of all the smoke obscuring. No, it was insane. John took this incredible photo that he posted on his Facebook. So check out John Ebanks' Facebook if you can. And it has some creepy stuff in it. Tell us more about what's in this photo, John.
Well, it was. I was looking at the clouds and I thought, are people going to think that this is just like a sunset? You know. Or will they know, like,
an apocalyptic sunset?
Right. Well, and I mean the moon. Yeah, the moon. I mean the sun is red, so that's not a good start if it's not a fire.
Right.
You know, I think we're all in for something.
But in this photo,
it had some faces.
Yes.
Some face images on there.
Yeah, there's one that particularly stands out, and I thought it looked like Questlove. You know, I feel like everyone's looking for like Jesus in these kind of photos,
right,
or somehow or the Virgin Mary. But no, I saw Questlove. Who'd you see?
Well, I saw more of like a Kid Rock
with a fro.
Brainiac, you know, from it's Brainiac, right, from Green Lantern.
Yes, that's right.
Kind of like a Kid Rock Brainiac mix.
Wow. We all have our own interpretations, which is why we do this show.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We bring our different perspectives. I see Questlove, he sees Kid Rock and comic book characters, and that's the beauty of the center-left, center-right argument.
Right, and again, we have the fabulous Bill Ebanks. Josh and John special contributor. Bill, you saw the photo.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Who'd you see in it?
I saw Jesus. I mean, come on. I mean, everybody sees
everywhere.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean,
we admire your faith.
Oh no! I saw Jesus, and I think I saw like my cousin. But I'm not sure. Okay, I mean, right. and then I saw the Wolverine, and I did see the Wolverine. If you look to the right on that photo, that's Wolverine.
Well, you know what? We're getting this show running. We're getting this Facebook running. As soon as we do, we'll put the photo on there and see what other people think about it.
And you know, since we're talking about this, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to talk about this session, let's talk about the fires that happen not just in New Mexico but in the West in general.
Right.
I mean,
the listeners in China.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they might know what's going on. We're not experts about these things, but these things keep happening, and it's obviously for different reasons, environmental reasons, and so on and so forth. But two of the fires that have happened this summer, the one that the Trace, the one by the Pecos. Trace something.
Laguna or something.
Yeah, Trace Laguna. Yeah. That's it. And it's actually Trace, not Tres. That's how they pronounce it.
It's you know what? I don't really like to interrupt you guys because
that's actually forbidden on the show.
I'm a guest, but it is.
No, go ahead, please.
But it is Tres.
Well, you say Trace, I say Tres.
I agree, it's Tres. But somebody told me that lives there that they say Trace.
But Laguna. I mean, that's like.
But besides going on, or moving on, so that fire was caused by a downed power line. And then we had the Thompson fire that happened literally 2 days later.
Ridge.
Also caused by a downed power line.
Right.
And then the Las Conchas fire that caused... Conchas fire.
Yes.
That caused Los Alamos and White Rock to be evacuated was also caused by a downed power line.
Right.
And I just want to know.
I think there's something.
What's going on with the power lines?
Right.
Like, I mean, doesn't it sometimes feel like it's like a third world country? Like,
well, it's better than the first fire, the Cerro Grande.
Yeah.
It's better than that. It was caused by a person.
Yeah.
And
right.
actually, I think the last fire, the one that caused White Rock and Los Alamos to evacuate, I think that was caused by a camper.
Now, I'm pretty sure it was a down power line. That's my recollection.
And we're going to get back. We'll get back to that.
But I mean, clearly, we're surrounded by these.
Point is
unhealthy.
Yes. Point being.
Right. We're surrounded by these unhealthy forests that do affect the economies of the West. And since we're the most familiar with New Mexico, we're probably going to stick with that. I'm wondering, should like the New Mexico government, should the United States government put a lot more focus on the natural disaster prevention,
or Ben Lujan,
or
his district,
or whomever? Should there be a little bit more focus on that? I mean, look, like even though the tornadoes in Oklahoma, that big that EF5 tornado that ripped through Moore, Oklahoma, hardly any of those houses even had a basement.
Right.
You know, I mean, do you guys? And let me ask you, Bill. Do you feel like there should be more intervention from state or federal governments,
and even legislation,
or in so much as pushing legislation to require, more forest cleanup, more basements in tornado areas? I mean, funded by the government, or should that be more of a privatized thing?
That's a good question.
You know what? Thank you for having me again on this show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's our pleasure.
This is the only show that actually talks straight when it comes to politics. I really appreciate it. But I was going to say something. You're talking about, should we have
like a government
intervention? Yeah.
Whether it's your local congressman, governor, president.
So you're talking about having government intervention. Mm-hmm. What happens right now in this country is that we're being pulled closer to socialism, and I don't want to sound right wing, because I believe in a certain amount of socialism. Mm-hmm. I think that basements for the people that live in Tornado Alley should be required, and I think they should be government subsidized, right? Mm-hmm. I think that if you live in a hurricane area, we should allow tax exemption for those people to build basements. I think that if you are living in an earthquake area and you build your house earthquake proof, I think there should be because
the government fits the bill in the end anyway.
Right, because
yeah, exactly. I mean, billions of dollars are lost in not only destruction, but people can't go to work, they can't do the normal things that they do,
economy,
and it sets everybody back, months, years, or whatever. I mean, clearly, and just for our listeners, we're not storm experts, we're not experts on insurance or anything, but just like as a general rule of law, like because I feel like I read a lot about some senators and congressmen who want to ease the funding to FEMA or other things, and I feel like it's mostly from the conservative side, but they, in the name of keeping taxes lower, because obviously a home without a basement is going to be more affordable, so you sell more homes. Sure. But is it worth it?
Is this question directed to me?
If you go ahead and answer it.
Well, I'll tell you, our government is best at handling crisis. Now, under the right direction. We have not always handled crises well. Katrina. We have not always done it. However, we are best in handling military, handling our Coast Guard, our National Guard, is the best in the world in responding to helping Americans. So we need to build on that. Well, and we can't. Just let me finish this thought. We can't rely on government to fix everything, but when it comes to emergencies, That's where the government steps in, and I think it's fine that we use our tax dollars to help people whose homes have been blown away off their foundation.
Well, and I think that's a really good point. You know, we are, you know, maybe besides Katrina, we are very good at being reactive. We react well.
Yes, we are.
9/11, Boston, we're great at being reactive. And we're not, and this is a good point in general, but going back to the fires and doing, you know,
the preventative measures.
Exactly. The proactive stuff, you know, I think that's where I think the viewers should really look at and kind of come away with this is, you know, what are some ideas?
Right.
You know, because we're not experts, but we're talking about it, and they haven't done it. So obviously it's worth mentioning, and I think, you know, if the viewers can come away with that, saying, well, can we be better, you know, can the government fund
and
better?
And really, should it be a bigger topic of conversation? Because obviously next year...
people's homes are in danger of being
people's
evacuated.
Homes, businesses, ways of life. But next year, this is going to happen again.
Right.
We're going to have tornadoes. We're going to have hurricanes. My sister's boyfriend, he's a... I don't know the exact title, but he works for State Farm, and he does a lot of assessments of the damage. And, you know, what he tells me is that this season, and this is the year 2013, it's supposed to be one of the worst hurricane seasons ever.
Right.
You know, so we know that going into it. This is after something like Sandy hits.
Right.
You know, which destroys, you know, like $50 billion worth of property.
Right.
And, you know, where, like you said, Bill, I mean, you're right. Our response, you know, the Coast Guard, the Army, they do their jobs quite well. Katrina maybe being an exception. But, I mean, would you, you know, from my understanding, you have a more conservative point of view in terms of the fiscal policy, but would you be willing to pay a higher tax, knowing that that tax goes to preventing local natural disasters from happening?
You're talking about a can of worms because you're talking
Absolutely,
about...
I know.
You're talking about willing...
I'm bringing it out.
It's a jar of worms.
It's willing to pay a higher tax. I am willing to pay, and I think most Americans are willing to pay a higher tax for programs that are worth paying a higher tax. Like people who are in need, direct need. Earthquake victims, hurricane victims, tornado victims. What we don't want to do is pay for people who aren't victims, who are just living off of our... You said I have a conservative view. It is conservative in that I want to conserve our nation.
Well, and you know, I absolutely agree. I mean, the money, you can't reinvent math. The money comes from somewhere.
Right.
You know, it's one thing to say, oh, I think everybody should be, you know, helped in one way or the other.
Right.
But that's why I was saying earlier, I think it's up to the people, and in the end it is. I do think it should be budgeted in.
Can I step in?
Yeah.
Can I step in? We need to help the people who need to be helped, no doubt. But we cannot help the people who don't want to be helped. They want to be
paid.
Right.
They want
and
to be
do nothing.
And I think you're touching on a good point.
They want to be supported in their life without helping themselves.
Right, because I feel like a lot of times these pieces of legislation do come up, they do get passed, and then the money goes to some place in the country that really shouldn't be getting that large of a proportion, and then it just gets earmarked as a pork barrel project, and the whole purpose of it is lost, and it's because one senator or congressman held more sway, therefore his or her state got more of the money, even though most of it should have gone to Florida or should have gone to California, kind of thing. I mean, I think you guys might agree. I do feel there is a bit of distrust with the government that when we do pass something like this, you know, it just goes to waste.
Yeah, you know, and I think we kind of come to a pretty decent understanding. I mean, you know, there's a lot to it. But Bill, again, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you joining us for the 3 sessions, and thanks for joining in.
Good to be here.
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thanks for joining into the Josh and John Show.
Just let me say one thing just to close. If you're talking about you were talking, John, about that this is recorded live. I just wanted to ask, are there any shows that aren't really recorded live?
Technically, we're being recorded. If it was live, you'd be able to listen to it as is. So John's actually incorrect. We're not being recorded live.
Yes,
but it's
we're actually being recorded live.
It's called a joke.
Oh, we got those.
Hey, why did the chicken cross the road? Because we're out of time.
Right.
That's
center
why.
left, center right, sports, politics, and everything else. You guys have a good night tonight.
Thank you for joining us.